Hello, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Welcome. In this video, 3 very quick tricks, tips, specifically for Logic users on how to navigate your session a bit more efficiently, how to move faster, work faster. These are things that I learned just going through trials and tribulations in Logic that I wish I knew when I first started. Anyway, let's just jump into them. The first one here. This is a rule that I wish I'd known, or a trick that I wish I'd known when I first started. You ever find yourself EQing something or working on a track, and then you might move away from that track and continue working on it, thinking you're working on that track, and then when you do the EQ before and after, you don't hear it? Chances are it's because you've navigated away from your original track and you're EQing or manipulating or changing parameters to a whole other track and not the one that you started on. So to keep you in context, let's say we start here with harp. I'm going to close this, go to my harp track, go to contact, open it up. Now we see harp, orchestral tools. When I press this little link button here, it goes purple, and now watch what happens. If I move away, I'm going to use the directional pad. I can always use my mouse, but just for ease's sake, if I go down to the flute solo, now it follows me in the selection that I've made track-wise. We've gone from track 13 to 14, and it just follows me wherever I go. And I point this out. I know this isn't like a mind-blowing hack, that I discovered and Apple's developers are scrambling to fix. This is something that's like very easy to do. It's not set by default as far as I know. You have to kind of go in and figure this out yourself. And to make matters a bit more complicated, you only get access to this little link by hitting the jelly bean over here. Someone called it a jelly bean. I love it. And then opening this up, and then you get access to the advanced parameters, and you can sidechain and copy and paste and compare and undo and redo. I have no idea what this does, but anyway, so hit that little button, and then that will reveal the purple link. And this works as well for for plugins and stuff. So if I close that, I'll go to this instance of Neutron, and this is where it becomes really, really valuable. If you are EQing something and you navigate away, as I said at the top of this, to another track completely and start EQing, and then you go to the before and after and you don't hear a before and after, that's why. It's because you've made a mistake and you think you're EQing a track that you're not actually EQing. So this is just really, really helpful. I know a lot of people just, they'll close stuff and they'll go to another track and they'll open that and whatever, but I feel like, before I know it, I'm always using the keypad. I'm always going back and forth with my, with my tracks, just with my finger like that instead of moving around on the trackpad. And this just makes it really easy to help me stay in context with what I'm doing. So that's number one, this little gear wheel, purple gear wheel. It will help you and keep you sane, I think, when you're moving around your session, moving around your tracks. Number 2. MIDI Chase. Now this is one that I didn't really know about until I watched a Spitfire video about it, and I feel like there's still some people that don't really know about this feature, but it's really important. So I'm going to play you this cue. It's still a little bit rough, but there's stuff that's staccato and percussive, but there's also stuff that's sustained and kind of patty. And if you're playing stuff back, especially in MIDI, obviously only in MIDI, if your digital audio workstation isn't loading that stuff into memory and reading it and popping it out each time, it's only going to play what, the CC messages that it is capturing as it scrubs left and right. It's not going to remember sustained stuff. So let's say like I place my playhead here, right? I'm going to turn this loop off. I place my playhead here and hit play. It's only going to capture and play back stuff that is like new and incoming, as a CC message here. So we've got claps, we've got other stuff. We're not going to hear the whole picture. I'll show you what I mean. So here's if we move the scrubber and just kind of drop the needle in the middle of this mix. Now in reality, if we go back, where I dropped my needle, there's actually way more information going on, but because it didn't capture that MIDI with the playhead and sort of interpret it and spit it out over the speakers, it's only going to read what's there and what it can immediately sort of play back. So here's the full kind of session. So in order to hear everything, even if you drop the needle in a certain position, go to File, Project Settings, MIDI, and then you want to go to from general input filter to chase, and then turn on notes right there. So if I turn this off, just to explain this even further, I've got some chamber strings right here. We don't hear them, even though I've soloed them. We're going to hear this next patch, though. Just wait. Because it was able to get those, sort of play them back, interpret the CC value, and then play it over the speakers. So if I go to chase, however, I'm sure there's a faster way to do this, but I'm just going to go back to MIDI. Turn on notes. Make sure sustained is on. Now have a listen. I'm going to drop it right here. In fact, have a listen as I drop the needle, not in the soloed area, but like in the whole track. We're going to hear everything nice and rich. Every sort of CC message will be represented in this playback. Now you might have heard something kind of funny there, and that's that the drums sound kind of weird. And that's because one of the pitfalls of using MIDI Chase is that if you're using drum loops that are triggered by MIDI, it doesn't capture them. And Apple even says this on their own website. It's not going to play back drums properly. So I would recommend that what you do is, you know, convert these guys to wave once you're happy with them, or I mean just bounce them in place. I think with Apple it's just like option B or something, or just go over here, bounce in place, and then get them so that you don't get that weird playback thing. But just to illustrate the point again, I'm going to take the drums off. I believe this is the only part where we have drums until the very end. So again, this is a great way to hear in context what you're doing. I know a lot of people don't like to flip things and bounce things. They want to keep everything MIDI. And the trouble with that, especially with sustained notes like a pad or something, like those chamber strings or whatever, it's not going to play everything back. So you have to go to the settings, again, File, Project Settings, MIDI, and then boom, Chase. Turn that on, make sure that's always on. You can save this to make sure that it loads properly every time you pop open a session. You don't have to keep going back and changing that. So that's one thing that I find extremely helpful. But be careful on drums. It's not going to play them back properly. They're going to sound wonky and weird. The last thing, the third thing that I think Apple introduced with Logic 10, I think. And this is super helpful. I'm just going to go to a track here that I have. I believe it's just an electric piano. So one thing that I really don't like is recording to a click. I hate, it needs to be done, but when I hit the record button, it's just not a good experience. I feel like I'm under the gun, under pressure, and that's not fun when you're composing and making music. Excuse me. Luckily, Logic makes it really easy to record even if you're not recording. And I know a lot of other DAWs have this, but Logic got it pretty recently, and it's a cool thing if you don't know about it. So I'm going to pull the keyboard out here. So when you're playing, let's say you're just playing something, we'll leave the click on. Let's turn this on here. Let's say I'm like, I really like that. Hit Shift and then R, and then that reveals what you just did. So you were recording even if you didn't know that you were recording. Apple Logic was interpreting this information and recording it to, I guess, the hard disk. I'm not really sure how it works technically, but now you have this. Here's the one snag. You can't do this if you are not in playback mode. So if I don't hit the space bar and try that same thing again, I don't know if I can play it again perfectly, but now when I hit Shift R, it's just a blob of notes. And that's not good for anyone. Let's hear that. Did it even play it back? Not even. So make sure that when you are using this trick, you are actually, you don't have to have the metronome on. You can have it off and do your thing. There's my masterpiece. R, boom, there it is right there. So this just helps you feel like you're not under pressure, and you can just record and just do your thing. And you can even have this recording when you can have this not recording when you're playing back your track and you're trying to do a solo or some pads or whatever you're happening to do. So this just really helps. So those are the three things. This little purple gear wheel, link wheel thing is awesome. MIDI Chase is awesome, and recording when you're not recording. All things you can do in Logic. Now you know how to do them, and I do them all the time, and I wish I'd known them earlier. It just makes life a little easier. So, yeah, what are some things in Logic that you guys do that you that are kind of not like hidden secret features or hacks, but just stuff that's in the program that is not immediately apparent to the end user, that are just like quick little, maybe key commands or quick commands or whatever? Let me know in the comments, because I want to become like a pro at this. My old DAW was Ableton. I loved Ableton until I didn't, so I moved over to Logic, and I still feel there's like a whole bunch of stuff I don't really know that I can do in Logic. And Logic, I think, started out as an amazing MIDI sequencer. So there's probably a lot of hidden features and things. Let me know in the comments, and let's like help each other out and give each other tips and tricks and stuff like that. And even if you're in Cubase or something like that, or Ableton or Pro Tools or Digital Performer, God forbid, no, there's nothing wrong with DP. Put some tricks in there, because I want to know what they are, and I think other people would like to know what they are too. So thanks for watching. Yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.